Welcome to the Deep Dive. Here, we take the sources you send us, and, well, we really try to get under the skin of a topic.
Yeah, pull out those key insights, the really interesting stuff.
Exactly. Think of it as your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. We aim for those aha moments, but without feeling like you're drowning in information.
And today, we're diving into, well, the really fascinating world of acting techniques. We got a great bunch of sources from YouTube transcripts, text excerpts, and our goal is to kind of distill the core wisdom from all that, give you a clear, engaging look at the different ways actors approach their craft.
Right. We've got quite a mix. There's a masterclass from the legendary Stella Adler.
Always compelling.
An acting lesson from Tom Hanks, which sounds amazing. Explorations of Sanford Meisner's work.
Very influential.
Some discussions on what trips actors up, what stops them getting into character, and then looking at method acting and Tony Barr's acting for the camera, especially how they connect back to Stanislavski.
It's a really rich set of perspectives, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it sets us up for, I think, a pretty fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about the how-to of acting, but also what these techniques kind of tell us about being human, emotions, truth, stepping into someone else's world.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Stella Adler. She's a big name, legendary, sometimes seen as controversial, but you can't deny her influence.
No, absolutely not.
So from her masterclass, what were some of the really core ideas she was driving home?
Well, what's really striking with Adler, I think, is her deep belief that you act from this place of profound inner truth. It's not just saying words or doing actions.
Right.
She said you act with your whole being, your soul. She had this idea that, life can kind of grind down your spirit. And art, acting especially, is there to remind you of that inner potential, that soul, which is a key insight, really.
Yeah.
Great acting isn't just imitation. It's about bringing your whole inner life, everything you are, to that role. You see that authenticity resonate everywhere, don't you?
Yeah.
Not just in acting.
That's a really powerful way to put it. And she seemed to put a lot of weight on the beginning, that entrance.
Oh, absolutely. She treated every moment theatrically, even just walking into her classroom.
Really?
Yeah, it connects to her view of life itself, having these theatrical elements. She apparently had this memorable self-deprecating phrase she'd used to introduce herself. Just grabbed everyone's attention instantly.
Okay. So beyond that first impression, what about the actor's inner world? Their drive.
Adler really pushed this idea of a deep inner desire, a need to express something that maybe you can't quite get out in just everyday life. She talked about an inner desire to express something that you can't in daily life. And her idea of soliloquy wasn't just talking to yourself.
No.
It was about verbalizing those deep, sometimes troubling inner thoughts as a way for the character and the actor to understand themselves better.
She sounds demanding. The transcript mentions her basically saying, "Do it my way."
Oh, she was direct, very unwavering. She saw acting as serious, demanding work.
Right.
She said there wasn't kindness in her demand, but it was about being in it together. We got to fight it out, she said. It really shows her dedication, her belief in what actors could achieve.
Interesting. What about the physical stuff? Costumes, props?
For Adler, everything on stage had to serve the play. And importantly, it had to feed the actor's inner life, their soul.
Feed their soul.
Yeah. She said you mustn't put anything on your body which doesn't feed the play and which doesn't feed your soul. It's about respecting the playwright.
Yeah.
The whole artistic vision.
It really sounds like her upbringing, being part of a theater family, shaped her whole philosophy.
Oh, completely. Growing up with famous actor parents immersed in that world, it definitely formed her. Her apartment was even described as this Fifth Avenue fantasy, like a physical manifestation of her theatrical roots.
Right. Now, she used the word action in a specific way, didn't she?
Yes, very specific. For Adler, action wasn't just moving around. It was the character's core emotional goal in a scene.
The objective.
Exactly. She used that example of the young man needing to tell his sick mother he has tuberculosis.
Yeah.
The action isn't just saying the words.
No.
It's the underlying drive to make her understand. That internal engine is what matters.
So it's about the intention driving it. And she saw acting as a real skill, a craft.
Precisely. She was firm on that. The craft of acting has been developed into being like the craft of music or architecture.
Requires training.
Dedicated learning, practice, refinement. Yeah. Her own journey from being a celebrated actress to this hugely influential teacher opening her own studio. It underlines that belief. You can learn this.
What other things did she really hammer home with her students?
Confidence was huge for her. She wanted to give actors a confidence in himself, a confidence which nothing can shatter.
Wow.
And she urged them to really engage with life deeply, viscerally, to listen with your blood, she said. Take everything in, be fully present.
And she believed actors kind of hold on to everything they've experienced.
Yes.
That the actor has in him the memory of everything he's ever touched, tasted, or eaten. She encouraged them to draw on their whole life, even things that seemed unrelated.
What?
Like telling an American actor to connect with the Italian in you. It suggests everything you are, your whole background, can inform how you understand a character.
Fascinating, linking personal history like that. How did she view criticism in theater? Was it personal?
She saw it differently. Criticism wasn't an attack on the actor, she believed. It was feedback for the world.
Yeah.
About the work, its impact, not about the actor's personal worth.
Okay. And she saw a difference between older plays and modern ones.
Yeah, she talked about sure plays, older ones maybe where right and wrong are pretty clear. Modern plays, she felt, often deal more with ambiguity, gray areas. And that really changes how an actor has to approach understanding their character's motives in that complex moral landscape.
The transcript has some great stories about her teaching style. Very direct. Oh, yeah. Forceful sometimes. She wouldn't hesitate to interrupt. Stopped someone mid-cough once, apparently. Declared no actor coughs.
Yeah.
And she'd call out actors getting lost in the text, telling them they were drunk with words.
Drunk with words.
Yeah, she insisted actors had to contribute to the words, bring them to life. Focus on the ideas, the intention behind the lines, not just the words themselves.
And it mentions her involvement helping Jewish refugees after World War II.
Yes. And apparently she brought that same intensity, that passion from her personal commitments right into the classroom, connected her values to her teaching. Ultimately, it was about achieving this powerful theatricality, capturing the soul of the people.
A really formidable figure. Okay, let's switch gears completely. Tom Hanks, his acting lesson sounds much more practical, focused on basics.
That's a good way to put it. Hanks really zeroes in on something fundamental, just getting past your own self-consciousness. He boils it down to you have to get past any sense of self-consciousness. You can only get up, hit the marks, and tell the truth. And he uses this deceptively simple exercise, repetitions, to help actors do that.
Repetitions.
Yeah, and the insight there is powerful, not just for acting, but for any communication, really.
Yeah.
By stripping away the need to be clever or original, you can actually connect more truthfully with someone else's feeling. It's about empathy.
And the exercise is just taking a simple line and saying it. Loads of different ways. The first one is there something I can do for you?
Exactly that. And then he paints these really vivid, relatable scenarios to show how those same words shift completely based on context and the speaker's inner state.
Okay, walk us through some. First scenario. You're having a great day, someone falls down, you offer help.
Right, so the delivery there would be filled with genuine kindness, maybe a bit of concern, aware of their vulnerability compared to your own good mood.
Then, different scenario. Cold day, the person who fell reminds you of your grandparent.
Okay, now the line feels different. Deeper care, maybe protective. That empathy kicks in because they seem frail, like family.
Next, he puts them in an information booth, bored, jaded, saying that same line again and again.
Total monotony, right. Utter lack of real interest. Maybe even a hint of annoyance at the repetition. Is there something I can do for you? Flat. Lifeless.
And the last one for that line, saying it with real hostility to someone walking in.
Complete flip. The words become aggressive, suspicious, a clear go-away signal hidden in a seemingly helpful phrase.
So what's the main takeaway Hanks wants actors to get from playing with that one line?
He's showing the actor's ability to show a range of things. Kindness, boredom, anger, even if they're faking it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But his key point is that genuine emotion, when the actor truly feels it, connects way more powerfully with the audience. He says the actor has to be a conduit of that reality, that truthful behavior, for us to believe it.
Okay. Then he uses the second line, it's all right, I'm okay. Same repetition idea.
Yep. Same idea, different scenarios. First one is the person who just fell embarrassed, trying to brush it off.
So the delivery would be quick, maybe flustered, wanting to disappear.
Exactly. Then he puts that person talking to the bored civic employee from before.
Ah, okay. So now they're intimidated.
Probably. The line comes out hesitant, lacking confidence, like they feel like an inconvenience.
And the last one for I'm okay is being a nervous customer in a hostile shop.
Right. So here it's uneasy, maybe trying to smooth things over, avoid conflict, just get out of there. I'm okay, meaning please don't escalate this.
So what's the learning from that set of repetitions?
Hanks points out how actors need to convey conflicting things sometimes. Feeling humiliated inside, but trying to project, I'm okay on the outside. And he underlines this big idea. Even simple lines, delivered truthfully, with real empathy for the situation, can move mountains in a performance. That connection matters.
It's amazing how these basic exercises cut right to the core, doesn't it? Intention, truthful delivery. Okay, let's move to Stanislavski. Konstantin Stanislavski, hugely influential, the guy who basically revolutionized acting.
Oh, absolutely. He's the pivotal figure. He's the one who really shifted stage acting away from that sort of exaggerated presentational style.
Melodrama?
Yeah, towards actors genuinely embodying the character. His system really laid the groundwork for the naturalistic acting we pretty much expect now.
And this came out of his work at the Moscow Art Theater, right?
Yes, he co-founded the Actually in 1898, partly as a reaction against what he saw as, well, pretty artificial and poor quality acting common at the time.
So he wanted to fix it.
He wanted to create, essentially, a grammar of acting, a systematic way for actors to reliably hit those moments of inspiration and give truly believable performances.
What are the absolute core pillars of his system?
Well, a huge one is the difference he drew between the art of experiencing and the art of representation. Stanislavski pushed for actors to fully immerse themselves in the character's inner life, to consciously use psychological processes to generate real emotions on stage.
Instead of just showing them.
Exactly. Instead of just indicating sadness with stock gestures or tones. Imagine playing someone grieving. Experiencing means genuinely tapping into sadness, maybe using a memory. Representation is just showing the outward signs, tears, slumped shoulders, without necessarily feeling it inside.
Got it. So it's about truly feeling it from the inside. And early on, he emphasized using personal memories.
Yes, in his initial work, he encouraged actors to dig into their own past experiences, to find emotions that mirrored the characters, to make that connection really personal. He also stressed that actors needed to genuinely do the character's actions as if they were real, happening within the specific circumstances of the play.
And the famous magic if. That's his too.
Yep, that's a key tool. The actor asks, what would I do if I were in this character's situation? It's an imaginative leap that makes the character's circumstances, which might be extraordinary, feel more real and personal to the actor. Bridges that gap.
And understanding the character's world was crucial too.
Absolutely. Understanding the given circumstances,
Yeah.
the who, what, where, when, why, defining their objectives, what they're trying to do in the scene, and grasping the subtext, what's not being said.
Right.
And interestingly, later on, he focused more and more on physical actions as a way into that emotional truth.
So his system wasn't static, it evolved.
Definitely. He was always learning, always refining his techniques, searching for better ways to get to truthful performances. He saw his system as more of a flexible guide, a manual, not a rigid rule book. He wanted actors to build on it.
And his influence in America was massive, led to method acting, right?
Yes, his ideas traveled and had a huge impact, especially in the U.S. Method acting grew out of that, with figures like Strasberg, Adler, Meisner, all developing their own interpretations rooted in Stanislavski's principles.
It's interesting that even those key figures, the method pioneers, had different takes on his work.
Oh, definitely. Strasberg really leaned into the psychological side, especially using emotional recall, dredging up personal memories.
Okay.
Adler, who actually studied with Stanislavski later in his life, shifted focus. She emphasized imagination, deep research into the character's world, understanding the script. She moved away from relying only on personal emotional memory.
And Meisner?
Meisner, as we'll discuss more, focused heavily on truthful reaction, authentic behavior in the moment with your scene partner.
But despite those variations, Stanislavski's basic ideas are still fundamental today.
Absolutely. They're so embedded in Western actor training now, they almost feel like common sense. Given circumstances, objectives, pursuing emotional truth, that's foundational stuff in most drama schools, and people are still researching and applying his ideas, keeping them alive.
He really did transform the craft. Okay, now let's connect this to acting for the camera. Tony Barr's work comes up here.
All right, Tony Barr's book, Acting for the Camera, is really important because it acts as a bridge. It takes Stanislavski's core ideas about truthful acting and adapts them for the specifics of film and TV.
So making that inner work read effectively in a close-up.
Exactly. Barr talks about refining, sometimes simplifying, stage habits for the camera's intimacy. You need performances that are truthful, but also subtle, naturalistic.
How does he suggest doing that?
He guides actors to understand the character's motivations and backstory. That's pure Stanislavski, given circumstances, objectives. But then to express it through controlled, nuanced physical details that the camera picks up, translating the inner work into subtle, believable physicality.
And focus is key for the camera too, which Stanislavski also stressed.
Yes, Barr recommends concentration exercises, focusing intently on an object or another person in the scene. It helps actors stay present and relaxed on a potentially distracting film set.
Right.
So that authentic emotion can emerge naturally, not look forced.
Does the magic if still apply on camera?
Oh yeah, Barr encourages using it, imaginatively engaging with the character's situation to generate those truthful reactions that look real on screen.
And Barr adds things specific to film.
Yes, he puts a lot of emphasis on physical and visual awareness.
Yeah.
Using your eyes, subtle facial expressions, things the camera magnifies to communicate inner thoughts. This connects to Stanislavski's later work on physical actions. Barr also gets practical about breaking down scenes, simplifying things based on Stanislavski's script analysis ideas to help actors avoid overacting and stay consistent across multiple takes and angles.
Sounds like he covers the technical side too, working on set.
He does. Gives advice on working with directors while staying true to your character's core, which echoes Stanislavski's idea of adapting to the production's circumstances. And he covers things like continuity, eye lines, using props effectively, stuff that's much more critical on camera.
What about emotional availability on screen?
Barr touches on that, freeing up the actor's emotional instrument. He even gives practical tips, like managing tear ducts for a specific take. Yeah, but it's all in service of Stanislavski's main goal: authentic emotional experience, not fake manipulation.
The transcript mentions some specific exercises from Barr's book.
Yeah, there's a single object concentration exercise for focus and presence, a line learning and emotional response exercise to connect with the character's truth by noticing your own spontaneous reactions to the other person's lines.
Interesting.
And a listening and reacting exercise.
Yeah.
Basically observing and reacting to each other without lines, just building truthful responses to stimuli.
Very practical stuff, clearly rooted in Stanislavski, but tailored for the camera. Okay, let's move to Sanford Meisner. His definition of acting gets quoted a lot.
It does. The ability to live truthfully under given imaginary circumstances, that's Meisner. His technique is all about doing, not pretending or indicating, working from your own sense of truth, right here, right now.
And his technique was actually filmed.
That's right. Some of his successful former students, like Sidney Pollack and Mark Rydell, realized how valuable his teaching was and arranged to film his classes to preserve it. And Meisner himself was incredibly dedicated, kept teaching with real determination, even after losing his voice to throat cancer, had to relearn how to speak multiple times. Just amazing tenacity.
His approach seems to push back against that idea of becoming someone else.
Totally. Meisner wasn't about transformation into a different person. He was about the actor working truthfully from who they are, just within the imaginary circumstances of the story.
And the core of his technique is the repetition exercise. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. It usually starts simple. One actor makes a basic, truthful observation about the other. Like, you have a blue shirt on.
Okay.
Then they just repeat that phrase back and forth. The key isn't analyzing the statement. It's focusing intensely on how the other person says it, their tone, their energy, their behavior, while saying it.
And it builds from simple facts.
Yeah, once they get a rhythm, it might move to repeating observed behavior. You're tapping your foot, or you have sandals on.
What's the goal of that?
The goal is to get the actor to stop controlling everything consciously, to just react spontaneously and truthfully to whatever the other person is actually doing moment by moment. You build a real conversation based purely on that immediate reality between you.
So listening is absolutely critical in Meisner's work.
Fundamental. He famously said, if you can't listen, you can't act. Full stop.
Right.
The repetition forces you to listen, to be affected by your partner. And as it develops, it moves beyond just surface observations to deeper perceptions, like you look tired today. It encourages a more intuitive connection.
What does the repetition actually achieve? Why do it?
It's designed to get actors out of their heads. Stop the overthinking, the intellectualizing. Just react instinctively, emotionally in the present. The transcript mentions that great phrase, an ounce of behavior is worth a pound of words. That's pure Meisner. Feeling it, processing it, then speaking. The repetition often uncovers underlying emotions, unspoken things that aren't obvious in the script itself. I remember seeing a clip once. These two actors were repeating something simple, like, you're wearing a hat, for ages. And suddenly one just burst into tears. The repetition had built this unseen tension between them. Powerful stuff.
He also talks about a pinch, an emotional response.
Yeah, the pinch is Meisner's term for that immediate, genuine emotional reaction to something, a stimulus. It could be something the other actor does or says, or something in the imaginary situation that just hits you.
And the independent activity, what's that for?
The independent activity is a task the actor does while in the scene. Something simple, usually. It gives them a personal circumstance, something to focus on other than themselves and their acting.
It takes the pressure off.
Exactly. Grounds them in a kind of reality within the scene. It lets their reactions to the other person be more spontaneous, more truthful, because they're also engaged in this other task. But, crucially, there has to be a real emotional reason behind the activity, something that makes the actor believe in the imaginary situation.
It sounds very experiential, but he also seemed to respect the actor's private process.
He did. The transcript notes that personal internal work only really got discussed if something wasn't working, wasn't translating into truthful behavior.
Ah.
If the actor was having genuine reactions, Meisner didn't need to pick apart how they got there. He stressed the reality of committing 100% to whatever task, however simple.
Yeah.
That's where authentic moments happen, especially for the camera.
And learning lines in his technique is done in a specific way.
Yes, lines are learned by rote, mechanically, with no pre-planned emotion or interpretation.
Why?
To keep the actor neutral, open, available to react genuinely to whatever their partner gives them in the moment, rather than delivering a line the way they decided to beforehand.
It's really fascinating how all these techniques offer different paths to the same goal, authentic performance. Okay, let's shift again. What stops an actor? Mark W. Travis talks about this.
Right, Mark W. Travis. He developed what he calls his interrogation process from years of directing and watching actors. He saw that shift over time, from the old presentational style to Stanislavski's focus on inner wants, needs, actions. And he realized something key. Sometimes the actor themselves is the biggest block.
How so?
He noticed that the actor's intention to become the character, the conscious effort, can paradoxically get in the way.
Trying too hard?
Sort of. Instead of just being the character and reacting, they get caught up in the process of trying to become someone else, which isn't what the character would be doing,
Right. So his interrogation helps bypass that. How does it work?
Instead of telling the actor how to play it, Travis directs the character directly. He asks the character questions.
Like what?
Like, who are you? What do you want? Why are you doing this? He questions the character's motivations right there in the scene. It allows the character's essence to kind of bubble up from inside the actor, more organically, less intellectually imposed.
He uses an interesting term, the committee. What's that?
The committee is Travis's name for all those internal voices inside a character's head. The conflicting thoughts, the doubts, the beliefs, the inner chatter. Through his questioning, Travis gives voice to that committee. He lets the character respond to those inner voices. And in doing that, the character defines themselves, solidifies who they are. It's like watching their internal debate shape their external reality.
So the character kind of takes over during the interrogation.
That's the idea. Travis suggests that when you achieve that deep connection, there's less room for the actor's conscious interference. There are potentially unhelpful ideas about the character. The character's authentic responses drive the performance.
A very internal, character-first approach.
Well,
Okay, finally, let's tackle method acting. It gets misunderstood a lot, doesn't it? The video you shared tries to clear things up.
yeah, absolutely. The video really stresses that method acting, despite all the different versions and, let's face it, the sometimes wild stories,
Right.
is fundamentally about focusing on the interiority of a role, digging deep into the character's thoughts, their worldview, their emotional life. You contrast that with classical acting's greater focus on, say, external imitation.
And the big myth. Method actors never break character.
Exactly. The video tackles that head on. Says it's a misconception. While some actors might choose to stay in character, it's definitely not a requirement of the method itself.
So what is it then?
At its heart, method just means a method of work, a system. It's a collection of techniques aimed at helping the actor connect deeply and authentically with the character.
And the roots, again, go back to Stanislavski.
Yes, the video traces method acting in the West back to interpretations of Stanislavski's method of physical action in the 1930s, which, as we mentioned, used improvised physical stuff to get inside the character, not just talking about it or recalling emotions.
The video also makes clear there isn't just one method. There are different schools.
Crucial point. As Stanislavski's ideas spread, different teachers developed their own takes. The main ones usually mentioned are Strasberg, Adler, and Meisner, each with their own emphasis, their own core techniques.
Can we quickly recap the main differences between those three?
Strasberg was very psychological, focused on emotional truth, using techniques like effective memory, recalling personal past experiences to fuel the character's emotions. Also, sense memory, reliving sensory details, and substitution, swapping the character's situation for a personal one to trigger real feelings.
Adler, we know, moved towards sociology and imagination.
Right. Adler emphasized understanding the character's context, history, society. She pushed for research, imagination, script analysis, and she notably rejected relying only on the actor's personal emotional recall, unlike Strasberg.
And Meisner, as we just covered, was about behavior and reaction.
Exactly. Meisner's behavioral approach prioritized genuine reaction, listening, responding truthfully in the moment. His repetition exercise, independent activities, trusting impulses, that was his focus, living roots over intellectual understanding, you could say.
So, despite the label, method acting is really a broad church, a framework for immersion.
Precisely. It offers tools, a philosophy for getting deep inside a character truthfully. But how you do that can vary a lot depending on the actor and the specific approach they follow.
Wow. Okay, this has been a really fascinating deep dive. We've covered so much. Stella Adler's focus on the soul, Tom Hanks' very practical exercises on self-consciousness, Stanislavski's foundational system, Tony Barr adapting it for the camera,
Meisner's focus on truthful reaction,
Mark Travis's character interrogation, and then getting a clearer picture of what method acting actually is, or rather what the different methods are.
And you see, despite all the variety, there's that common thread, isn't there?
Yeah.
They're all ultimately aiming for a deeper understanding of character, for authentic performance.
Right.
And in doing that, they really do give us valuable insights into human behavior, how we express emotion, how complex we are.
So here's something maybe to leave you thinking about. How could these acting principles, understanding motives, reacting truthfully, focusing intensely, how could they apply beyond the stage or screen to your own communication, maybe, your relationships, how you try to understand the world? What truths do you bring to your own stage in life?
Yeah, it's worth considering, and we definitely encourage you, if you're interested, to dig deeper into these figures. Adler, Stanislavski, Meisner, the others. See which approaches spark your own curiosity about performance, and maybe it's just about human nature itself.